Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over a different type of video on this channel, and it's just based on things that I see as a therapist. We're going to talk about the different types of avoidance to some extent. Follow through with me. The type of avoidant that you actually connect with more often based on your wound. I'm not saying there are different subtypes of avoidance, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that every personality is different and the level of their particular wound is more prominent in certain ways, okay? So let's give some examples before we jump into the video so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Let's say we have two anxious, preoccupied folks. One of them is more afraid of being unloved to the point where they will stay with someone who, let's say, is even a cheater. They will stay with that person, okay? That's one type of anxious preoccupied. This is just an example. The other one is that they're afraid of being abandoned, okay? And so their biggest fear is abandonment. So they will continuously pretend like a person who doesn't like them, they're denying it to themselves. A person might literally not like them and they keep saying this person does like me, or they are changing, and they keep looking at like the very small signs that this person likes them because they're afraid to admit this person will abandon me, right? This person will no longer be in my life if I admit that they like me. They both have the same wounds though. They both have the abandonment and the fear of being unloved. It just one is a little bit more prominent than the other, which shows up differently in the relationship. Very similar to avoidance. Every avoidant has the similar wounds, but they show up in more prominent. So I'm going to give examples so that you can understand, okay? So I used to be avoidant, my dad's avoidant, and my partner used to be avoidant. So we're going to use those examples because they're actually, you guys like when I use real examples, and I can't use I can't use actual patients, so I'll just use my real life. My dad, he's very avoidant, very commitment, like he just runs from commitment in like every category of his life. And one thing that his wound is most prominent is he really is conflict avoidant. Conflict avoidant to the point where he will like do anything. He will lie to avoid conflict, okay? That is the way he is. He's always been like that. He has even told me to do that. I never did that. That was just something that I don't do because he doesn't like conflict, because he's very like, I'm not even trying to be mean. He's like allergic to emotions. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. Any emotion that's not happy, he just cannot handle them. He cannot. Like, it's so hard for him. And so that's his biggest wound, vulnerability. My dad's, he has all of them, but his biggest one is vulnerability. Mine is failure. Mine is different, okay? Mine is, I'm still struggling with this, but in general, I've gotten so much better. I think I'm overall healed. I don't run from these things anymore, but mine has always been failure. I've been honest. I've been direct. I've been very selfish in my life. I really have. But failure was always mine. I don't like when people tell me I'm not going to be able to do something. Or if someone has like, some people, if you're an avoidant, you'll understand this. A lot of people put you on a pedestal. And I don't like that, because if I'm on a pedestal, that means that you have expectations for me to some extent. And I do not like expectations, because that makes me feel like I have to live up to these things, and then you're going to get mad at me and you're going to tell me what to do, etc. And this is not the way I am now. This is the way I used to be. And so I would basically not listen to anybody and just do my own thing all the time, because if I listened to somebody, I would be afraid that they would have some sort of expectation for me. So let's say somebody said, hey, the right way to do this is this. I would say, okay, that's fine, but I don't care. I don't want to do that, right? I would do my version, because if I listen to their version a little bit, that means that they would have some expectation for me. And if I can't do it exactly the way they want to, now I'm a failure. So that was mine, okay? And then my partner, his, I think, is failure as well. But to be honest, I think his is like being afraid of his autonomy being taken away. That I feel like was his biggest one. He doesn't really have this one anymore. But in general, he always like felt like untrusting of people. He always felt like someone would be taking advantage of him, or that he won't be able to do what he needs to do. Let's say he would, now he's not like this, but before, let's say he would go shoot pool with his friends. He would always be like checking to see, are you gonna let me do this? Am I allowed to do this? Are you gonna get mad at me if I stay a little bit late with my friends? And that's obviously, that never happened because I didn't care. But that was something that he was worried about, and that's because that was his wound, okay? And so what I'm saying is different avoidants, all of them are similar, right? Fearful or dismissive, they have similar wounds. Dismissive and fearful have a little bit different, but in general, I'm not saying there are subtypes. I'm just saying that there are different personalities. So hopefully we can now jump in. Sorry if that didn't make sense, but let's go ahead and talk about your wound and what kind of avoidant you end up with because of that, okay? let's just say you don't really want to explain things because you feel like you're a burden. Let's say that's your wound, okay? That's your like biggest, most prominent one, okay? You will end up typically, what I've noticed based on practicing, okay? It could be wrong. You'll end up with someone who tends to string you along and has no intention of making actual progress because subconsciously they know that you won't challenge them. And you will use indirect language like silent treatment or expecting them to know instead of actually saying it. And so their progress will be almost non existent. I'm not saying this is always the case, so please don't be afraid and say that this person will never change. That's not true. I'm just saying if you've ever wondered why you have a history of partners who are very similar, this could be why. A way to fix this is honestly just tell them what you want. Like, I'm just being honest. And if they are going to show up, they're going to show up. If they're not, they're going to leave, and then you can find somebody who's better, okay? The next one is you're very anxious about uncertainty. Avoidants get very uncomfortable with pressure, and they may often feel like they can't meet your needs. So what ends up happening is you're going to actually end, because you're so uncomfortable with uncertainty, you're going to try and subconsciously, I know it sounds strange, but the partner you're going to pick is going to be the one who's uncomfortable with being pressured, because a part of you feels like if I can pressure this person or change them, that means I don't have to be afraid of uncertainty because this person is so afraid of being told what to do. If I can change them, then that means I am in control of the uncertainty in my life, because this person is so comfortable with living in uncertainty and not being told what to do. If I can change them, then I don't need to be afraid of this feeling anymore. That's where it comes from subconsciously. And so you tend to be attracted to people who don't like pressure, okay? The next one is you have a lot of shame about who you are. You feel like you're not attractive, you're not lovable, you might feel like you're not appreciative, like able to be appreciated. You feel like you're the last person that anyone will pick. You might actually be attracted to the type of controlling type of avoidance who tend to push you to prove yourself, or who tend to tell you what not to do, or who tend to make fun of you, or who tend to look down on you. They are controlling, okay? And not a lot of avoidants are not like this, but some are. Like attachment styles, every person has an attachment style, but not everybody has a personality disorder. So a person who has a personality disorder, they do have an attachment style. It depends on what their attachment style is, but I'm just giving you that example, okay? So you might be attracted to people who are more controlling, okay? The next one is if you are very emotional, in the sense you might be very jealous, or you might feel like you're very unattractive and everyone's more attractive or better than you might actually end up with avoidants who tend to keep their distance, or who are very on the fence whether they want you or not. So a little bit more hot and cold, and they might be very like, they might feel like you're not the one for them, and they're keeping you on the side or on the back burner, or they might come back to you every time it's convenient for them. And the reason this happens is because they're actually uncomfortable with that intense need that you have. Like, you very much want to be chosen, and so that makes them feel less likely to want to choose you because it makes them feel very pressured. And so what can help is being more comfortable with letting them take their time to process, and just feeling less jealous of other people and believing that you are someone that's attractive. They might start seeing that it's more comfortable for them to be more commitment ready, okay? And the last one is if you shut down in conflict. A lot of fearful avoidants do this. So if you have this, you might end up being attracted or connected to somebody and you might be a dismissive avoidant who shuts down in conflict, and then you might be a fearful avoidant, or another dismissive avoidant might be that who is like pushy to have their way, and then often they feel very guilty when you cry or get hurt. So I see this more with like a fearful avoidant and a dismissive avoidant dynamic, where let's say you're fearful avoidant, you shut down in conflict, and you get attracted you attract avoidants who are very like pushy about having their way, my way or the highway, and then they only change when you like are very hurt. So they do change, but only when you are very backed up in a corner and you've had enough, and this isn't healthy. And so what you can do to motivate them to change before you get very hurt is have more direct communication instead of shutting down, okay? I know this video was a little bit different than my usual, but I just noticed this in the comments that everyone has like different perspectives. People are giving different advice, which is great. I love that you give each other advice, but it's based on like different levels of your wounds. And so I just wanted to help you guys. We'll probably make more videos like this, but let's try and summarize it. It's hard to summarize this one, but if you tend to explain yourself and you feel like you're a burden, you're going to be more attracted to someone who tends to string you along and make very, very slow progress. If you're anxious about uncertainty, you tend to be with avoidants who tend to be uncomfortable with pressure. Okay. If you are ashamed about who you are, or you're embarrassed for who you are, you might be with more controlling type avoidant. If you're very jealous and you feel like everyone's better than you, you might be with an avoidant who keeps their distance, or who always are are on the fence about you. And if you shut down in conflict, you're going to be with avoidants who are very my way or the highway. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.